It is February 8th, 1587. A small crowd is gathered around Fotheringhay Castle in Northamptonshire. They are here to witness the execution of Mary, Queen of Scots.
Hello, Mary.
Good afternoon.
Before her execution, we had a chance to talk to Mary about her life and her thoughts on her execution.
So, you were born on December 8th, 1542. You were raised in Linlithgow Palace for the first few years of your life, right?
Yes, that is where I stayed until 1548 when I moved to the French court.
A few days after you were born, your father died. Do you remember anything about him?
Well, no, you wouldn't remember much of your father that died 6 days after you were born. I remember my mom leaving me in my room when she visited him. Didn't want me to get sick, I guess.
About your mom, what do you remember of her?
She kept me in my room constantly. I didn't go out much in the palace. I barely saw her or anyone except my maids, to be honest. She was very distant. I do remember seeing my mother read the letters from Henry VIII about marrying Edward VI. She thought I had the right to know. I didn't really understand it, though.
But you never did marry Edward.
No, I didn't. The Catholics didn't like the idea of my marriage with Edward. They wanted to keep their old alliance with France. They took me to Stirling Castle and broke the match. Henry was furious. He sent raids to Scotland, burning crops and farmhouses. It was awful.
During these raids, the Scots betrothed you to another prince.
Yes, Francis II. They sent me to the French court for my own safety. I enjoyed my time there. I learned French, Latin, Spanish, and ancient Greek. I also learned to play the lute. I married Francis in 1558.
Here is an old interview we had with Francis II after the wedding.
Good evening, Francis.
Good evening.
How do you feel about the wedding?
I'm very happy with it. Mary is very graceful and smart. She'll make a good queen.
Now, there has been some rumors about your health. Are you feeling all right?
I'm doing all right, although my ear has been feeling a little strange. I'm having it checked out by the palace doctor tomorrow.
I hope you feel better. Thank you for your time.
In 1559, things started going downhill. You lost 3 family members?
My father-in-law, King Henry II, died in a jousting accident. He was always very nice to me. Soon after, my mother died. About a year after her death, Francis II took the throne. Later, he too died of an ear infection.
You then became Queen of France. You were the queen of 2 countries, and you were only 17. How did that feel?
Being queen at such a young age was not as hard as it seems. There were many advisors that basically did my job for me.
After, you decided to go back to Scotland. Why?
My friends and family advised me against it, but I wanted to go back. I miss my old country. Even though it had become a Protestant country while I was gone, my half-brother, Lord James Stuart, told me I could worship as I wished. That was all I needed to persuade me to go back.
So, you returned and ruled well for a good 4 years. What caused your rule to start going downhill?
I married my second cousin, Lord Darnley, in 1565. I now realize what a big mistake that was. The people of Scotland weren't too happy with my decision, with him being a bad-tempered drunkard. When he and his gang of followers killed my secretary, I decided I had enough.
What did you do then?
After my son James was born, Darnley and my marriage started to become very stressful. In the February of 1567, we were staying at Kirk O'Field. I went out to see some friends, and when I returned, the house was destroyed and Darnley was dead.
Later, you married the Earl of Bothwell. Didn't you see that some of the Scottish lords would be angry about it?
I think that I was eager to move on. Too eager. I just married him without thinking. The lords rose up against me, and I was defeated on Carberry Hill. They took me prisoner in Lochleven Castle.
What happened to the Earl of Bothwell?
From what I've heard, he fled to Scandinavia and went insane. He was captured and died in prison.
What did you do next? How did you end up in England?
I escaped my prison and sought shelter in England with Elizabeth I, my cousin. I figured that she would help me, queen to queen. Instead, she locked me up in prison for 19 years.
Why did she do that?
There were many reasons she imprisoned me. One reason was that I threatened religious stability in England. There were also rumors that the marriage between Elizabeth's father and mother was illegal, giving her no right to the throne. I was the nearest legal heir.
We found an interview with Elizabeth I on her political troubles with Mary. She explained her solution to us here. Elizabeth, what are your thoughts on Mary being in England?
It is very difficult for me.
I don't know whether to send her away to be killed in Scotland, or to let her stay and face the possibilities of my country experiencing religious issues, or even myself being overthrown.
What do you think you're going to do about it?
At the moment, the best possible solution is to keep Mary in captivity here in England. She won't have access to the outside world. That should keep her from being hurt or influencing anyone into overthrowing me.
Even in captivity, you advocated for yourself. Do you still think you have the right to the English throne?
I do. I am the rightful heir, considering Henry and Anne Boleyn's marriage was illegal. I had the backing of the Pope.
Is it true that you were part of a plot to kill Elizabeth?
In fact, yes. A man called Anthony Babington helped me devise a plot against Elizabeth. He wrote me a letter about it and I responded, saying I agreed. Elizabeth's spies intercepted the letters, and Babington was arrested and executed. Afterwards, I was put on trial.
How did that go?
I think I defended myself well, but it was no avail. They found me guilty. Yesterday afternoon, I was told I had 24 hours to live. Here I am now.
It is February 8th, 1587. I am here with Mary, Queen of Scots. Mary, thank you very much.
Of course.
Oh, well, I never was there ever a cat so clever at